Hello, dear students. This is Dr. Mahesh Naik. In this video class, we are going to discuss a poem, Sonnet to Pain, written by Anne Blanchard. Let us have a recap of what we learned when we discussed a poem. Okay, right. The last poem we discussed was Silence, written by Mariana Moore. In this poem, we analyzed or discussed the poet's father's opinion about the superior people. So we learned that according to the poem or according to the poet's father's opinion, superior people never make long visits. They are self reliant and they can be robbed of speech which delighted them. That means they become speechless or they remain silent when they hear to somebody who speaks better than them. And fine. So, poet's father's advice making houses inns. That means when we visit somebody's house, we have to consider them as inns. That means we have to vacate them as soon as possible. We should not stay there for a long time. Okay, dear friends, this is what we discussed in the last poem, Silence. Coming to the present video class, coming to this poem, Sonnet to Pain, let us see the objectives of learning objectives of this class. The first one is to make the students know about the poet. Okay, you will come to know about the poet regarding some basic information. Second objective is to make them understand the speaker's experiences with pain. Yes, so you will know what kind of experiences the speaker of the poem had with pain. And of course, as usual with any poem, you need to make the students able to analyze or interpret the poem on their own after listening to this class. Fine, we do not have much information regarding the poet when compared to the other poets we usually have when doing other poems. Anyhow, so here are some information regarding the poet. So Anne Blanchard was a British poet. Okay, Anne Blanchard, she was a British poet, and she lived during 18th and 19th century. Okay, 18 19 ಶತಮಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಂಥ poet. And her poems are collected. Of course, she has written some poems, and her poems are collected and published. Okay, published in an anthology titled Midnight Reflections and Other Poems. So the title of the anthology is Midnight Reflections and Other Poems. In this anthology or in this book, we can see some of her poems. Then what is this poem about? Some basic things or important things about the poem before we go to the analysis or discussion of the poem. It is written in the first person. Yes, the speaker here it says I. Okay, this poem okay is written in first person. The speaker uses or the poet uses the word or the pronoun I. So first person. It is a sonnet. Sonnet means a poem of 14 lines. Okay, with some particular pentameters. The poet speaks of her experiences with pain. Yeah. So in this poem, we can see the poet's experiences with pain. And of course, in this poem, pain is personified. Or let me say, the figure of speech personification is used in this poem. Right. Now let us go to the poem and see the explanation or analysis line by line. Okay. Yes, the poem begins. Yes, yes, I know thee well. So I, the speaker, just I told that the poem is written in the first person. The speaker is I. I means the poet. We can say the poet. So the poet says that yes, yes, I know thee well. Thee means you. Thee means you. Who is the thee here? Who is the you here? Thee or you is none other than the pain. Pain. So the andre you anta. You andre artha pain. That means the poet or the speaker is speaking to pain in its absence. Andre pain ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಳೆ. That means that I told you pain is personified. ಇಲ್ಲಿ pain ಅನ್ನ you ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಪರ್ಸಾನಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಈ poem ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಫಿಗರ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ಆಗಿ. ಓಕೆ ರೈಟ್. So the poet tells to the pain, or addresses to the pain, yes, I know you very well. I know about you. I know you very well. ನಿನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಪೇನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು? ಹೌ ಶಿ ನೋಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಪೇನ್? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಟೂ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ದೌ ಬೀನ್ ಮೈ ಅಟೆಂಡೆಂಟ್. ಹೌ ಡಸ್ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ ನೋ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಪೇನ್? ಪೇನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು ಪೊಯೆಟಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್. Thou means you. You have been my attendant, very long, for a very long time. You have been my attendant for a very long time. Okay, just rearrange the orders of the words, dear students. Okay, too long, for too long, you have been my attendant. You have been my companion. Okay, and just like a friend, just like a friend. Here, the poet says that pain has been her companion, her her friend for a long time. That is why she knows pain very well. ಬಹಳ ಕಾಲದಿಂದಲೂ ಪೇನ್ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪೊಯೆಟ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ಗೆ ಪೇನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಯಾರು ಅಂತ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತು. Yet I liked thee not. Yet I don't like you. ಹೀಗಿದ್ರು ಸಹ I hate you. I don't like you. Okay, look at this. Even though pain is with the poet for a long time, she doesn't like pain. Even though pain has been there with this poet as a companion, she does not like pain. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪೇನ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಾಲದಿಂದಲೂ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗಿದ್ರು ಸಹ ನೀನಂದ್ರೆ ನನಗಿಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಮೈ ಡಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ನೋ ಬಡಿ ಲೈಕ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಲವ್ಸ್ ಪೇನ್ ಆರ್ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್. ಯಾರಿಗೆ ತಾನೇ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಪೇನ್ ಅಥವಾ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? Right here, the poet is very clear. She doesn't like pain even though she has been with her for a quite long time. Right. Though habit has accustomed me to feel with suffering less acute thy presence now than I did once. Of course, on more words. Fine. Though habit has accustomed me, habit has made it a habit. Accustomed means you have become accustomed, you have been adjusted. Okay. So abhyasa hogide. Accustomed means abhyasa hogide. Habit has accustomed me to feel with suffering less acute thy presence, your presence now than I did once. So let me summarize these words or these 2.5 lines. Okay, ಎರಡೂವರೆ ಸಾಲಿನ ಅರ್ಥವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಹೀಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. Right. Now the poet feels less pain, or the poet suffers less now, even though there is pain. Less means comparatively less. That means when, sometimes before, of course, pain was with her. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಾಲದ ಹಿಂದೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಕಾಲದ ಹಿಂದೆ ಪೇನ್ ಅವಳ ಜೊತೆಗಿತ್ತು, ನೋವು ಅವಳ ಜೊತೆಗಿತ್ತು. ಆಗ ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂಕಟವನ್ನ, ವೇದನೆಯನ್ನ, ಸಂಕಟವನ್ನ, ನೋವನ್ನ ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ಲು. Pain was there and she suffered a lot. She suffered more sometimes ago. Of course, now also pain is there. ಈಗಲೂ ಸಹ ಪೇನ್ ಇದೆ. But she suffers comparatively less compared to means sometimes ago. She suffers less. Her suffering has become reduced. Reduced. ಅವಳ ಸಫರಿಂಗು ಈಗ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಪೇನ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಹ. ವೈ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಅಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದಟ್ ಪೇನ್. ಅದು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಹೋಗಿದೆ. ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಎ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್ ಟು ಬಿ ವಿತ್ ಪೇನ್. ಪೇನ್ ಜೊತೆಗಿರೋದು ಒಂದು ಹವ್ಯಾಸ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಗ ನೋವು ಅಥವಾ ಸಫರಿಂಗು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮೊದಲಿಗಿಂತಲೂ. Nor is the time forgot when I have met thy terrors with a tear. Yes, once upon a time, some times ago, ಕೆಲವು ಕಾಲದ ಹಿಂದೆ, ಕೆಲವು ದಿವಸಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ, ಓಕೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಕೆಲವು ಮೇ ಬಿ ವಾರ ಅಥವಾ ತಿಂಗಳುಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ಅಥವಾ ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮೇ ಬಿ, ಶಿ ವಾಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಟೆರಿಫೈಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪೇನ್. ಪೇನ್, ನೋವು, ಸಂಕಟ ಬಂದಾಗ ತುಂಬಾ ಭಯಭೀತಳಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ಲು. ಶಿ ವಾಸ್ ಅಗ್ಯಾಸ್ಟ್, ಗಾಬರಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ಲು. ಹಾ, ಸೊ ದೆನ್ ಹೌ ವಾಸ್ ದ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್? She had met thy terrors. Thy means pain's terrors with a tear. Then she started to weeping. She cried a lot. Aga alta idlu. She used to cry. She used to weep. There were tears in her eyes when she suffered. ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ನೋವು ಸಂಕಟ ಬಂದಾಗ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಒನ್ಸ್. ಅದು ಆಗ. So she tells that, okay, I cannot forget that time. How can I forget how I felt then? ಆಗ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು ನೋವನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಗೆ ತಾನೇ ಮರೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ? ಓಕೆ, ಆ ಕಣ್ಣೀರು ಇನ್ನೂ ನೆನಪಿದೆ ನನಗೆ. But now look at this. So these lines, okay, they tell about how she felt with pain, how she suffered with pain. Okay, then aga. These lines tells about the change that has occurred in her. ಅವಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆದ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಈ ಸಾಲುಗಳು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. Let us see what change, okay, she has come across. But now I have learned to bear thy frowns severe with calmness. But now prolonged suffering, continuous suffering has taught her something, has taught her a great lesson, a good lesson. Continuous suffering, prolonged pain has brought some change in her. Let us see what change. Yes, so she has learned now. ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾಳೆ ಈಗ. She has learned to bear, to tolerate pains, frowns. Frowns means, okay, mean distasteful expression, disapproving expression. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫ್ರೌನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಒಂಥರ ಮುಖ ಗಂಟಿಕ್ಕೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಡಿಸ್ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ಫುಲ್ ಆರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಅಪ್ರೂವಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನ್ಸ್, ಪೇನಿನ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲರ್ನ್ ಟು ಟಾಲರೇಟ್, ಬೇರ್ with calmness, with patience. Now she doesn't cry. Now we don't see a tear in her, even though there is pain in her. ಈಗ ಅವಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೋವಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಕಣ್ಣೀರು ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲರ್ನ್ ಟು ಫೇಸ್, ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲರ್ನ್ ಟು ಟಾಲರೇಟ್ ದ ಪೇನ್ ವಿತ್ ಕಾಮ್ನೆಸ್, ವಿತ್ ಕ್ವೈಟ್ನೆಸ್. ಶಾಂತತೆಯಿಂದ, ಪ್ರಶಾಂತತೆಯಿಂದ, ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ ನೋವನ್ನ ಸಹಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಈಗ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪ್ರೊಲಾಂಗ್ಡ್ ಪೇನ್. ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಮೈ ಡಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್, ಓಕೆ, ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ನೋವು ಯಾವುದು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಾಗ, ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಬಂದಾಗ, ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಏನೋ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದರೆ ಅದೇ ನೋವು ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಥರದ ನೋವು ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅದು ನಮಗೆ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಇಫ್ ವಿ ಸಫರ್ ರಿಪೀಟೆಡ್ಲಿ, ಇಫ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಪೇನ್ frequently in our life, we become accustomed to that, and of course we are able to face it with patience. ಅದನ್ನು ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ ಎದುರಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಶಕ್ತಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್, ಓಕೆ, ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಪೋಯಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. And almost without a sigh, now she tolerates without a sigh. Of course, she might be, okay, with sigh, okay, then when she faced some pain earlier, there was a sigh in her. ಅವಾಗ ನಿಟ್ಟುಸಿರು ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ಲು. ಆದರೆ ಈಗ without a sigh, there is no sigh in her or from her. Sigh means okay, an exhalation to express sorrow ಆರ್ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್. ನಿಟ್ಟುಸಿರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ನಿಟ್ಟುಸಿರು ಆಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ ನೋವಾದಾಗ, ದಣಿವಾದಾಗ. ಆದರೆ ಈಗ ನೋವಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ವಿಥೌಟ್ ಎ ಸೈ, ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ನಿಟ್ಟುಸಿರು ಬಿಡದಲೆ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲರ್ನ್ ಟು ಬೇರ್ ದ ಪೇನ್. ಆ ನೋವನ್ನು ಸಹಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ದಾಳೆ ಈಗ. ನಿಟ್ಟುಸಿರು ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಈಗ. ವಾಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲರ್ನ್, ಮತ್ತೇನು ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ದಾಳೆ? ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಲರ್ನ್ಡ್ ಅಟ್ ರೆಸಿಗ್ನೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಶ್ರೈನ್ ಟು ನೀಲ್. ನೀಲ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಬೆಂಡ್. ಮೊಣಕಾಲನ್ನ ಓಕೆ ಊರಿ ಬಾಗೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಮಂಡಿ ಊರಿ ಬಾಗೋದು, ನೀಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಎಸ್, ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ವೆರ್ ಡಸ್ ಶಿ ನೀಲ್? ಯಾರ ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ಮೊಣಕಾಲನ್ನ ಊರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪೊಯೆಟು? ರೆಸಿಗ್ನೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಶ್ರೈನ್. Okay, that means you know that you have to face something. Okay, it is inevitable. Acceptance of some undesirable thing, inevitable thing. ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ ಅದನ್ನ ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ ಅನ್ಡಿಸೈರಬಲ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. Okay, it is inevitable. So here she has learned, okay, that it is inevitable. She has to face, ಅದನ್ನು ಎದುರಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತು, ಅದು ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೈ ಶಿ ನೀಲ್ಸ್, ಶಿ ಸರೆಂಡರ್ಸ್, ಶಿ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ಸ್. ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬಿಡ್ತಾಳೆ. ಶ್ರೈನ್, ಓಕೆ, ಶ್ರೈನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಓಕೆ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎ ಟೆಂಪಲ್. ಯಾವುದ್ರ ಟೆಂಪಲ್? ರೆಸಿಗ್ನೇಷನ್, ಇನ್ಎವಿಟಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ಇನ್ಎವಿಟಬಿಲಿಟಿ, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ಎವಿಟಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನು ಒಪ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡು ಶಿ ಸರೆಂಡರ್ಸ್, ಅದನ್ನು ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. And now no more a tear shall dim my eye. Yes, it is already told in the last previous lines. Now no tear will dim her eye. Okay, when tears okay filled in our eyes, okay, the eyesight will become dim. ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರು ತುಂಬಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಮುಂದೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟತೆಯಿಂದ ಕಾಣೋದಿಲ್ಲ. So but now there is no chance of dimming her eyes with a tear, because there is no tear at all in her eyes. ಕಣ್ಣೀರು ಬರೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. Then there is no question of dimming her eyes. She has learned to control her tears. ಕಣ್ಣೀರನ್ನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದನ್ನ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. Because the pain is continuous, prolonged pain, prolonged suffering. It doesn't mean there is no pain, there is no suffering. ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ಕಣ್ಣೀರು ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನೋವೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಯ ಆಯ್ತು ಹೋಯ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಅಲ್ಲ. ನೋವಿದೆ, ಸಫರಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ, ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್, ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಪೇನ್. ಬಟ್ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲರ್ನ್ ಟು ಬೇರ್ ಇಟ್, ಟಾಲರೇಟ್ ಇಟ್. ಸಹಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್, ರೈಟ್? ಬಟ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಲಿ ಅವೈಟ್ ದ ಅವರ್. ಎಸ್, of course she has learned all these things, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಶಿ ಇಸ್ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಲಿ ವೇಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಅವರ್. ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ, ಸಹನೆಯಿಂದ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಸಮಯವನ್ನ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಳೆ. ವಿಚ್ ಟೈಮ್, ವಿಚ್ ಅವರ್? ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಸಿ. ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್, ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಅವರ್, ದಟ್ ಅವರ್, ಆ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಳೆ ಆ ಘಳಿಗೆ, ಘಳಿಗೆ ಅಂತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಘಳಿಗೆ, ಆ ಘಳಿಗೆ ವಿಲ್ ಎವರ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಬಿಡ್ every sorrow cease. That waiting hour, that time, okay, for which she is waiting, ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಘಳಿಗೆಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಳಲ್ಲ ಆ ಘಳಿಗೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಡಸ್ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಡಸ್ ಹರ್? ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ? that will cease her sorrow, every sorrow, that will stop her every sorrow. ಆ ಘಳಿಗೆ ಅವಳ ಪ್ರತಿ ನೋವನ್ನು, ಪ್ರತಿ ವೇದನೆಯನ್ನ, ಪ್ರತಿ ದುಃಖವನ್ನ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಕೊನೆಗಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ. That hour will put an end to every sorrow. Stop, cease means stop. Okay, that hour stops her every sorrow. ಪ್ರತಿ ನೋವನ್ನು ಸಹ ಅದು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ತೊಡೆದು ಹಾಕಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. Yes. Soon the cold hand of death will bring me peace. Look at this sentence, my dear students. Personification is perfectly used here. Cold hand of death. Okay, of course, cold hand of death, death, lifeless thing. Okay, death. Okay, look at this. Ah, cold hand of death will bring me peace. So here, at that hour, okay, she has been waiting. That hour, okay, will bring her peace. And what is that hour? Death. The cold hand of death will bring her peace. ಸಾವಿನ ತಣ್ಣನೆಯ ಕೈಗಳು ಅವಳಿಗೆ ನೆಮ್ಮದಿಯನ್ನ, ಶಾಂತತೆಯನ್ನ ತಂದುಕೊಡ್ತಾವಂತೆ. ಸೊ ಕೋಲ್ಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೆತ್, ವೈ ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಕೋಲ್ಡ್? ಯಾಕೆ ಸಾವಿನ ಕೈ ತಣ್ಣಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಬೆಚ್ಚಗಿರಬಾರ್ದ? ವೈ ವೈ ಶುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಹಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೆತ್? Yes, we know that when a person dies, his or her body becomes cold, and of course death is always cold. Soon the cold hand of death will bring me peace. That means she is waiting for her death, right? And free me from your fierce, tyrannic power. Your means thy means your means pains. So when death comes, the cold hand of death, okay, brings her peace. Along with peace, ಸಾವು ನೆಮ್ಮದಿಯನ್ನ, ಪ್ರಶಾಂತತೆಯನ್ನ ತಂದುಕೊಡೋದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಪೀಸ್, ಡೆತ್ ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಡೆತ್ ಫ್ರೀಸ್ ಹರ್, ಡೆತ್ ಒಳನ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರಗೊಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ? ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೈ ಫಿಯರ್ಸ್, ಟೈರಾನಿಕ್ ಪವರ್, ದೈ ಕ್ರೂಯಲ್, ಟೆರಿಫಿಕ್ ಪವರ್. ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಟೆರಿಫಿಕ್, ಕ್ರೂಯಲ್ ಪವರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೇನ್, ಡೆತ್ ಫ್ರೀಸ್ ಹರ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಸಾವು ಈ ನೋವಿನ ಕ್ರೂಯಲ್, ಕಠೋರ, ಫಿಯರ್ಸ್, ಒಂಥರ ಭಯಾನಕ ಆ ರೀತಿಯ ಅವರಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಶಕ್ತಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ನೋವಿನ ಶಕ್ತಿ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಮುಕ್ತಿಗೊಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವುದು? ಸಾವು. ಎಸ್, ಡೆತ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಪೀಸ್ ಟು ಹರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡೆತ್ ವಿಲ್ ಫ್ರೀ the poet from the tyrannic and fierce power of pain. That means after death, a person cannot feel, cannot experience any pain. That is the last pain. Death is the last pain. Okay, after death, nobody feels pain or suffering, or pain or suffering doesn't do anything for to a dead person. ಸತ್ತಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೆ ನೋವಾಗಿರಲಿ, ಸಂಕಟ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ವೇದನೆ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಏನೂ ಸಹ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಡೆತ್, ವೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಅವರ್ when the cold hand of death holds her and brings her peace forever and frees her forever from the hold of this tyrannic power of pain. So this is the poem, my dear students. I hope you have understood the poem. Okay, let us look at some concluding points of the poem. Yes, this poem treats pain both as enemy and friend. Yes, this poem treats pain both as enemy and friend. Enemy because it gives suffering. Okay, the pain is, of course, suffering. Pain is painful. And friend because, okay, friend because a companion. It is always with her. ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಅವಳ ಜೊತೆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಫ್ರೆಂಡು. ಎನಿಮಿ ಯಾಕೆ? ತುಂಬ ನೋವನ್ನು, ಸಂಕಟವನ್ನು, ವೇದನೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಎನಿಮಿ. ಕಣ್ಣೀರನ್ನು ತರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿಂದ ಎನಿಮಿ. Okay, the speaker is initially deeply affected and suffers greatly, of course. Initially, in the beginning stage of the poem, we saw that, okay, the speaker suffers or deeply affected and suffers greatly. Okay, ತುಂಬ ನೋವನ್ನು ಪದ್ಯದ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಪೊಯೆಟ್. ಬಟ್ the prolonged suffering, the continuous suffering, ಆದರೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್, ನಿರಂತರ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್ ಅಥವಾ ವೇದನೆ, gives her patience and strength. Look at this. Continuous suffering gives her patience and strength to endure pain with stoicism. Stoicism means okay, patience without showing any feelings. ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಭಾವನೆಗಳನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸದಲೇ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಎದುರಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ the prolonged suffering itself gives her strength, okay, to face suffering with patience and stoicism. Right, dear students? Okay, then let us look at the learning outcomes of this video class. Yeah, the students know about the poet. Yes, we know about the poet. Okay, some information. The experiences of the speaker with pain. Yes, the experiences of the speaker with pain. Now you know very well. And now you are able to analyze or interpret the poem on your own if you are asked to analyze the poem. Okay, now multiple choice questions. Question number one. Pick out the anthology in which Anne Blanchard's poems are published. Option A, Midnight Thoughts and Other Poems. Midnight Reflections and Other Poems. C, Midnight Revelations and Other Poems. D, Midnight Talks and Other Poems. Yes, Anne Blanchard's poems anthology. Yes, my dear students, you have heard it very clearly, and your answer is right. B, Midnight Reflections. Good. Question number two. Anne Blanchard was a blank, a dash poet. A, British. B, American. C, Afro-American. D, Canadian. Yes. Again, you are right. Here is your answer. A, British poet. Okay, Anne Blanchard as a British poet. Choose the line that is not in this poem. Yes, choose the line that is not in this poem. Three lines are from the poem, one is not from this poem. A, that takes its prey to privacy. Though habit has accustomed me to feel. C, that will ever long bid every sorrow cease. D, than I did once, nor is the time forgot. Excuse me. Okay, fine, think. You can also remember the previous poem if you can. Good, my dear students, you are right. Yeah. That takes its prey to privacy. Yeah, this line is from the previous poem, Silence. Okay, other three lines we see in this poem. Good. Fourth question. Yeah, so this is the line from this poem. With calmness and almost without a blank. Okay, this line is from this very poem. Okay, so ಇದೇ poem ಇಂದ ಈ line ಅನ್ನು ಆರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಾಗಿದೆ. You have to fill in the word, okay, in this blank. Pain, fear, tear, sigh. Yes, with calmness and almost without a blank. Yes, you are right. And here is your answer. D, without a sigh. Okay, good. Question number 5. Name the figure of speech used in the poem. Yeah, figure of speech used in the poem. Simile. B, metaphor. C, personification. D, all the above. Yes, which figure of speech is used in this poem? Especially those last lines. Okay, you are right again. Answer C, personification. Okay, this figure of speech is used in this poem. Okay, students. So reference literary ruminations. This textbook is used to prepare this video class, my dear students. Okay, time to thank you for watching this video attentively. Okay, so keep strong. Then let me close this class, my dear students. Where is it?